What's up, gang? Hope you're doing well. This video, a little bit different than what we've been doing. This is Christian Braun, plays for the Denver Nuggets, 2024-2025 season highlights. Some of you were asking me to break down more NBA players. It's kind of hard to do with highlights, but I'm going to try it. The only reason I'm not doing full games, I still haven't got my league pass onto this computer. I'm having troubles getting that onto here for whatever reason. So I'd like to typically you get more out of watching full games or watching plays that aren't necessarily highlights, but we're going to see how this goes. If it turns out good, then I uploaded it and it must be worth your time. So let's check it out. I'm also recording slightly differently so I can use the pen. I tried to use the pen a couple videos ago. It didn't work. So we'll be able to use the pen now. Also, I'll probably have it muted just so it doesn't get copyright claimed. You know, the reason I like watching players like this is showing kind of this is showing exactly what you need to do if you want to make it. Most players we're so worried about this, right? All of the online coaching and training you see is so worried about this thing right here, this little basketball right here, this magical mystical device. Okay, everyone wants the ball in their hands. Everyone's highlights and everything is just the ball in your hands. Players like Christian Braun, I mean, he is freakishly athletic compared to the rest of the population. But in the NBA, he's a pretty average size, average height, but it's just like IQ, effort, and just makes the right plays. So right here, typically, if you're playing as a, if you're playing anything under the NBA or you're playing against another team's best player, you're typically going to be halfway between the ball and your man. I say that just to keep it simple. Every team is going to have different defensive rules, but typically you're going to be halfway between your ball and the man. If Jamal Murray is doing his job on the ball and he's pressuring, that's a tough pass at most levels to make with defensive pressure. So if you're halfway in between, you're discouraging the drive. You're forcing them to throw a long loopy pass, hopefully. Because he's guarding Shea, obviously he's just right up on him. Then we advance it, and you see this a lot in the NBA. You see this a ton in the NBA, especially with a pick and roll. This pick and roll is supposed to force this guy to make a decision. So Jalen Williams, probably not an elite playmaker yet. We saw this with the Chris Paul video, though. You're not supposed to just worry about Chet and what he can see or how they're defending. Really good players, Luka Doncic, Chris Paul, like guys that are elite out of the pick and roll. Jamal Murray's pretty good at this. They're not worried about this. You can see that's where Jalen Williams' eyes are. You want to worry about like playing this defender. So you might look at Shea, like you want to pass it to Shea so that Christian Braun plays this, and then you hit Chet, or you want to look at Chet to get Christian Braun to play the role and then hit Shea. Also, Shea could lift up here. You're supposed to lift up off of this to put Christian Braun in a tougher spot. Also, Jalen Williams, you don't want to pick up the ball straight away. You want to create more space. So there's a lot more that OKC also could have done. But regardless, good job by Christian Braun just reading all that. And just he doesn't leave until the ball is left Jalen Williams' hands, makes a play on the ball, and then straight away runs the break. You should probably be getting 4 to 6 points a game off of just doing this. Run your lane, especially if you got good decision makers. Run your lanes instead of trailing. He was the furthest one back because he's the one that got the steal, so he's the furthest one behind the ball, and then he just runs to the level of the ball. Defense makes mistakes. He happens to just end up with a layup. Great job. Nice. Nice. I was speaking to a coach in the NBL, an Australian National Basketball League. I was speaking to a coach, this was years ago, and I said, what's the biggest difference, or what's the biggest thing you look for when you're trying to recruit a player? So if you're recruiting an import at a lower level, or if you're recruiting a college player from overseas, like what's the biggest thing you look for? And he was like, honestly, it's defensively. He said, if you can't defend closeouts, he said, we won't even look at you. And this is something, again, we're spoiled by the NBA. So Christian Braun has 2 players, because a lot of teams were doing this to Shea this year, and Jalen Brunson, they did it to Jokic as well, but they would just put a defender here and be like, we're not going to let you go to the middle 2 feet in the key and shoot this jumper, or to kick out to a good 3-point shooter. So we're going to put a guy here. We're going to make someone else. We're going to play the closeout. We would rather play the closeout than just play one-on-one with Shea. So they're putting Christian Braun in this spot where he's guarding 2 players and he has to just make a play. We just get spoiled by, we say there's no defense anymore, but to me, this is really hard to defend. This is really tough to do, but guys like this consistently do it, guarding 2 defenders. So I was wanting to slow it down. So he's guarding 2 defenders, and he just has to make a read here. So he's watching Shea, but he's bouncing because he's getting ready to recover whichever way he needs to go. Leaves on the fly to the ball. He gets into this passing lane too, so Isaiah Joe doesn't have just a direct, it looks like, oh, just make the next pass, but they're also doing the same thing with Jokic now. They're saying, hey, we'll have Jokic guard 2 guys too. We want to play closeouts. We do not want to play one-on-one with Shea, but being able to close out, not allow the pass, so he's in that little passing lane, and see how his hand is over there too. If you throw that pass, like he's playing that lane, being able to get that block, so tough. And then he runs the lane, doesn't end up with it this time, but again, just good off-ball defense. This is a really good video for those of you wanting to see like 5-on-5, how to make an impact. You'll learn more watching guys like this than watching James Harden, who's on here now, watching Shea, there's little things you can pick up, but you're going to learn way more watching the other guys. So Braun does what we talk about in our one-on-ones. This is why the one-on-one space has been fun. I'm kind of in the way, but you get what's happening. So he's in his shooting pocket, hand on his hip, like forcing him left, forcing him to do something, forcing him on the short side of the court, I'm assuming. Plays the first drive, plays the bump pretty well. And we talk the difference, right? The difference between James Harden, how often have we seen this? James Harden getting to here or James Harden getting to here on his pickup is massive. How often does he turn the corner and wrap people's arms and get all the way to the backboard? When you're playing good players, you have just forcing them a little bit out at least gives you a chance, at least gives it a chance to miss or to get a block. Jesus, win the bump here, get a block. Crazy. Runs the lane. Even this is good. You want to do this as much as possible. Just get up the court. Look at the matchup. I wish this play would play out. This is why I wish it wasn't just highlights. But if you push the ball hard enough, now you've got Harden behind the ball, and then you've got Zubac who's going to have to pick up Braun. So now, you've kind of got 3 guys that have to work it out. Ideally, if he can attack Zubac, now Jokic can just run down the middle and post up Powell, post up on Powell, or not sure who this is here. Just a hard drive, nice. Oh, nice. Yeah, if you want to be good, just go coast to coast and dunk it. This is, again, what are most of his scoring highlights so far? It's literally just running the court. Because he's willing to run fast. You'll see this a lot on defense or offensive play. Watch the offensive plays. I didn't even see it first, but let's see if it happens. Let's watch their body language when the turnover happens. Do they sprint back straight away? Is it next play mentality? Or do they all kind of feel sorry for themselves for a split second? I don't know. Let's just see. So deflection here by Murray. Great deflection. Grady Dick actually does a really good job running. Running here. kind of feeling sorry for themselves of like, okay, turnover, and then he just gets out. Yeah, honestly, it's just, you'll see this at most levels. Like if you are just quicker to react than the defense, it'll just give you an advantage. It gives you a 2-on-1 here. NBA is pretty good about it. As much as we make fun of certain guys, James Harden does it a lot, LeBron does it a lot, with like turnover happens and they just walk back. As a league as a whole, they usually do typically do a pretty good job of getting back, especially in the playoffs. But Division I, they work really hard, but anything under that, like you'd be surprised. Guy turns it over, like they're not sprinting back as hard as the guys on offense who want to go get a point. And then just be an athlete. Jeez. You can make an entire career playing basketball like this. I call guys like Christian Braun, I call them ball movers. Most of you need to learn how to be a ball mover. One thing we do in America really well is we practice the pick and rolls, we practice being the man, we practice hitting tough shots, we practice wearing cowboy hats and jeans and cowboy boots on the sideline. We practice all those things, right? But we don't practice getting into the gap and creating a closeout for our teammate. So Powell has to help over on this drive. That's not, I don't think that's Powell. No, that's RJ Barrett. Helps over. So you've created a closeout for Michael Porter Jr., who surprisingly doesn't shoot the three. Probably first time all season he doesn't shoot it. But because the closeout was good and because you created a closeout for your teammate, now you have a closeout. Don't have to do anything special. You're open. Just shoot it. Scotty Barnes too far off. Just shoot the open shot. If you can be a ball mover, drive, kick, find the open spot, like you're incredibly valuable, especially in America. We don't have enough ball movers. Another fast break. He just goes. Jeez. We can analyze these and look at like the dunks, but you can still get this without it being a dunk. Like he just does the same thing again. Who's faster? Who do we think is faster? Like who? Again, it was a split second, right? Who do we think is faster? Christian Braun or Anthony Edwards? Probably Anthony Edwards. Christian Braun might be faster, wouldn't surprise me, but probably Anthony Edwards. But it's just like, look, he's already going. He already made his decision. He's going to run. So head down. When you talk about sprinting, just head down and go. That's LeBron used to do this all the time. Head down, start sprinting just to get out ahead of the pack. And then Naz Reid running backwards as you do, because he's guarding like multiple guys. Just going full speed gave him that advantage. And then I don't know what to tell you about the dunk. I didn't have a 40-inch vertical. Attack the closeout. Jesus. You forget like how many dunks this guy had. But again, nothing special here. How's he get to the basket? I tell you guys all the time, if you can get one dribble to the basket, two, he goes two because he goes with his crossover step. You can get there with one. And you probably would need to get there with one if you're not going to jump over people and dunk. If you're going to jump over people and dunk, you can go with two dribbles. You can take an extra dribble if you're gonna load up and just jump over Rudy Gobert. But ideally, if you can catch. So he's got his split stance. This is the difference. I think he dribbles with his right hand, but he's kind of got his split stance. I only advocate for, not a huge difference. I just advocate for this left foot to go more directly towards the basket, left hand dribble. And we've seen, like I've shown it in my videos, you can get all the way to the backboard in that one dribble. But once you get to here with one dribble, now you've got Rudy Gobert who's going to help. For those of you that aren't as athletic as Christian Braun, again, you can now do your Euro step to the right. You can jump stop here and play off of two. You have more options off of that one dribble rather than going full speed takeoff poster. Oh, that's crazy. This is crazy. Jeez. Oh my gosh. Little does poor Mike Malone, right? Little does he know he's going to be fired in 2 weeks. Okay, spacing the floor. This is a good read. People always ask me, like, when do you cut? When do you know when to cut? The rule I usually give them is when you see your defender turn their head. I think that's a pretty good sign. Time to cut. Oh, I have the pin. So right here, as soon as he sees Grady Dick turn his head, he just cuts the basket. Obviously, the read is there's open space, but even if that space isn't open, let's just say, not sure who this is, but let's say he's guarding up. Like, even if you cut to the basket, now it puts that defender in a tough position to have to decide to guard Aaron Gordon. So I would call that, if the defender was in, I call this the captain spot. So if the defender was there taking that away, it's still a good cut. It just becomes a sacrificial cut. You're taking that help side with you, and then Aaron Gordon's getting open. But because there was no help, like, Braun just gets the wide open layup, or maybe a dunk. Probably a dunk. Well, we'll go with layup. And then just a tough finish, right? Takes off again. Man. I need to watch more of the Raptors. I don't even know who half those guys are. Spacing again. Yep, same thing. See Shea, as soon as he sees Shea turns his head, he just cuts. And you got to remember, like, and plays off of 2 feet. You got to remember, more often, these are highlights, right? More often than not, Christian Braun makes that cut when his defender turns his head, and he's probably not getting the ball. That's why I wish, like, I could have my league pass up and we could see more cuts where you're not getting rewarded, but it's still the right play. And guys that continuously make the right play make their teammates better. They give themselves more opportunities. And when you're saying, like how do you score? How can you score more points? Well, if you're playing with the Nuggets, Jamal Murray is going to have the ball in his hands for probably 5 minutes of the game. Jokic, we already did the stats on this. He has the ball in his hands for like 6 minutes a game. And then everyone else on the Nuggets, you're going to have the ball in your hands for a minute or less. Like, that's how long you're going to have the ball in your hands. It's all going to be about what you do without the ball in your hands. So it's Christian Braun sees straight away, like, if Jokic gets the rebound, Murray gets the rebound, like, I've got guys that can dribble the ball and can do other things. My job is to run the lane, and good stuff will happen. When Jokic catches the ball in the elbow, Braun is like, my job is to space and hit this open three if I get it, or to attack the closeout that I get, like we saw with being a ball mover. Or if my defender turns his head, I cut. So simplifying the game and just making the right read, good things will happen. You're not going to be the flashiest guy, but you can play in the NBA if you consistently make the right plays and are semi-athletic, semi-physically gifted. And be able to shoot. That's just a... This is so tough. All right, catches, one dribble. So we always talk about it, right? One dribble to cover the distance. The second dribble to deal with the second defender. That's all the dribbles you should need to get to the basket. If you're taking more dribbles than that, it's probably bad defense or you're doing too much. And then to just elevate. Also, these are the actions, if you can. This is where you need to practice. So again, I don't see enough of this in skills training. Again, show me Steve Daggs and his I'm trying to remember the other guy's name, forgive me, but Steve Daggs is really good about doing this stuff. This is the stuff you need to practice when you're in your skills training. You don't need to practice the hezzy step back, all that stuff, right? You need to practice going full speed downhill off a dribble handoff. That's the stuff that's going to get you playing at a higher level. And just making simple reads like that. Again, we saw all those guys that were showing all these crazy layups and working on all this multiple moves and extra cones and all this stuff. That's a very simple, like, downhill, hesitation dribble, finish. Playing off a pick and roll. Playing off a pick and roll and getting to our decision-making box, right? The decision box, I like to call it. Once you get to the decision box, then you make a play. Throwing it to the best player in the world is a pretty good play. It's so funny. Braun's highlights are like just fundamental basic basketball that people are going to clown and say it's corny. But honestly, this, if you can do all these things, take away the dunking even, but if you can get to those spots consistently and just finish off the glass, finish through contact. Let me guess, Braun's going to take off full speed. These are the plays Steph Curry gets a lot, and honestly, when their team plays pretty good defense, the Nuggets do, like pretty good team defense, but OKC gets this a lot, Indiana was getting this a lot. If other guys play really good defense, it allows you to be on your toes and to make these types of plays and get easy buckets, right? So a lot of guys benefit from their teammates playing good defense too, but really we saw this with Giannis and the Bucks. Giannis won like Defensive Player of the Year, and then Drew Holiday gets traded, and then everyone's like, oh, Giannis isn't that good at defense. It's like, no, Drew Holiday was just so good. He did these sort of things that it highlighted the other stuff Giannis could do. Obviously, Christian Braun is a really good defender, but when you have team defense that plays pretty well, it puts these guys in weird spots. He's not used to making this decision. Now Christian Braun can just shoot the gap. Brandon Ingram, who is never going to sprint back because he plays for the Pelicans, and it's 7-9, so why would you play hard when it's still a close game? Yep, catch, get up the court. We call this a bust out dribble or a burst out dribble, whatever you want to call it. It can be called whatever. As soon as you get the ball, just get looking up the court. I usually say to players like one dribble to make a decision. It's not dribbles to always beat the defender. If you're like a team player, you want to catch, turn, take a dribble, and as that dribble is happening, you're like scanning the floor and seeing like, where can I throw it? And then if you have nowhere to throw it, then it's like, okay, I'm going full speed, or hey, we don't have the numbers, I'm going to slow down. So you kind of have one dribble to make a decision. Again, this is just fundamental basketball, and I love it. Let me know if you guys kind of like these breakdowns too. Just full speed, decision box. Simple. Oh, nice. I mean, it's just, if you can shoot three-pointers, this is going to open up for you. If you can't shoot, none of this matters. That's why I say shooting is the most important skill in basketball. Because he's a good shooter, he could come off of, I'll get my pin out here. So this is kind of a double stagger screen. So they're both going to set screens here. And this is a read. NBA players play this way now, where they play actions more so than they do set plays. They have set plays, obviously, but more so you're going to run some actions. So obviously he can read this, and typically a double stagger is to come all the way up and shoot a three if they're caught on the screen. And this is what I said, like NBA defenses are pretty good now. Like they work hard. This is tough to guard. He's working off the ball. He fights through the screen, but he ends up trailing, and because he's trailing, Christian Braun reads that, gets hit on the screen here, and he's trailing. Christian Braun just, instead of finishing the play, which is to come up here, instead of finishing the play, he just curls. I'd say reading actions like that, again, that's what we should be teaching in our skills sessions, not having the ball in your hands. Again, how much has Christian Braun done with the ball in his hands this game? Transition. Honestly, that's all he's really done with the ball in his hands. Everything else has been quick decision making. Good read. It's kind of like a cornerback. Good read. Same thing, right? As soon as you see your defender kind of turn their head, just go. Ugh. And hold on, let me look at that, because we talked about it. Even if he doesn't get the ball, did he help out Michael Porter Jr.? Yeah, so even if, let's just say Kyrie does go with Christian Braun and he doesn't throw that, at least now it's just one-on-one here instead of getting trapped. So even if he doesn't get it and it's a sacrificial cut, it's still the right play. All right. And it just takes off in transition. Nice. All right. Playing off 2 feet. We talk about that with our one-on-ones. The angle he takes here, he doesn't take a good angle, and it kind of turns into like a brush screen, which is kind of where, or sometimes a rub screen, or whatever you want to call it. Terminology all over the world is different, but it's kind of Jokic can set this screen or dive to the basket, which he's done. So Christian Braun plays off of that, just plays off of 2 feet, doesn't have anything, but then turns into something. How important that is, even for a guy like him, to be able to play off 2. Brunson. Speaking of playing off of 2 feet, Jalen Brunson. Great pass. I mean, we saw everything. We kind of get the gist of it, right? Take off, play fast, get out in transition, dunk on fools. Yeah, let me know what you guys think about this style of breakdown. I think it's super important for this information out there for you, for the majority of us, right? Majority of players need to be watching players like this. You're not going to be as athletic as Christian Braun. You're probably not going to have a teammate like Jokic who's going to make those passes. You're not going to have a Jamal Murray taking all the attention away, but you're always cutting when your defender turns their head is almost always a good decision. Running hard in transition is almost always a good decision. Playing off of 2 feet when you don't have anything is almost always a good decision. What else did he do? Being able to catch and shoot open threes, almost always a good decision. Being able to attack a closeout, always a good skill to have. Being able to do a double crossover, hesitation, get to the basket and make a tough finish, that's not always a good skill. Sometimes you don't need that. Sometimes the game calls for more simplicity. So I think it's more important to focus on these plays, these actions, these highlights. If you want to be a student of the game, if you want to see real success, you have to master this stuff. Like you have to become not proficient, but you have to become at least slightly like you have to at least implement this stuff a little bit. You have to be able to do these things a little bit, and then the other stuff, like I always say, is icing on the cake. So if you can shoot open threes and attack closeouts and play in transition, that's good enough for 12 to 15 points a game. Then you can build your bag off of those 12 to 15 and get your next 5 points. You don't start getting the 15 points by ISO and just having the ball in your hands and doing a bunch of dribble moves. You don't start that way. No one does. So anyways, I thought this was really good. Thank you for recommending it. And like I said, hopefully soon I'm going to have like proper game film that we can break down and get into the weeds a little bit more. But yeah, if you like these, let me know and we'll find some more players. I know there's been quite a few highly requested, and so we might go through some highlights and do these. So either way, take care, and I'll see you guys in the next one.